Hey y'all, it's Katrina with Faith and Loops Crochet. Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to go over different things that happen in my crochet journey, and today I'm going to be doing a market recap. I had the pleasure of setting up in a local county. This was actually in a middle school on April the 12th. Now, in my local area, we've had a lot of weather issues and a whole bunch of flooding. This market right here was supposed to actually have 60 vendors. And I didn't realize it, but that night we got to set up early. And the coordinator, the one that's running it, came over and said that there had been 20 people to cancel. So it's like, oh wow, that's a lot of people to cancel for a market. And this market was, the entry fee was $80. So that's a pretty good chunk. I mean, I could kind of understand it a little bit more if it was like $50 or $40, but the vendor booth fee was $80. So there was a lot of people that lost out on quite a bit of money at 20 people. So we get there and we were able to set up from like 7 to 9 or something like that. So we decided we were just going to set up our tables and go ahead and get a layout for everything. So as we're setting out and getting up a layout, which we kind of figured I would do what I normally do, a basic layout that, you know, everybody has kind of, if you've set up a couple of times, you have a basic way that you set it up and you kind of just critique it a little bit here and there. Well, we went to set up and she came over to us and talked to us and she's like, you can come out another like 2 or 3 feet because the walkways are so wide. So it's amazing how 2 to 3 feet by 10 foot can create so many different options. So let me tell you, we spent, I don't know, probably a good hour and a half playing around with the layout, trying to make it work just for that extra, 30 square foot that we got. So, we decided that since we were getting a little bit more area, we could actually add another table. And we didn't have the table there with us because we didn't plan on that extra space. But we were able to add another table, which opened it up where my husband could actually include his 3D printing. So he was just going to have a little spot so we could actually test out the market and see how it worked. So we had it all laid out, finally got it all picked out and everything else. So it's market day. We get up early, we get there, we have all our stuff packed, all of our inventory packed, and the extra table that we got to bring. And we get there and she goes, we had several other vendors, about 10 other vendors cancel for today. And there is actually nobody on the end because it was the end and then me. She said, so I need you to spread out and take up as much space as you can. So I did. So all of that planning, all that laying out kind of went right out the window and we did something totally different. So we took up as much space as we could and tried to take advantage of that corner area. So I did get a video of it. So I'm going to go ahead and let y'all check out the layout so you can get a peek at it. So our layout ended up working out pretty well. So we had like this U shape, and then we had that 4-foot table out in the front, and you could kind of walk through. The layout worked really well that way. We got a lot of attention, and the way that the flow of traffic went, you could see almost my entire booth just walking through, and you could pick out certain things. So there was supposed to be 60 vendors. There was actually only 30 there. So there was like a whole lot of cancellations, which did not set up like it was going to be a very good day. So if 30 vendors had canceled, you kind of think that traffic's not going to be that good. And speaking with another vendor, there was actually another event taking place in that same town that day. So that was another ringer there. So out of the 30 vendors that were there, 3 of us done crochet. One did mostly acrylic, well, all acrylic yarn. So all of her stuff was acrylic. And then there was another lady, well, young lady, should I say. She looked to be somewhere in between, I don't know, somewhere probably in between 13 and 16. And that was her crochet booth. And I actually like went over there and I tried to talk to her. I was like, that pattern's by so-and-so and that pattern's by so-and-so. She's a little shy. And that's okay. She wasn't super chatty with me, but I probably scared her. Let's be honest. I was like, this is by this person, this by this person. So I didn't really get to chat with her a whole bunch, but her work was phenomenal. She did a great job. Her stitches looked really good. So it was really exciting to see a younger person, setting up, and her work was phenomenal. So I wish I got her name. I didn't catch her name and I didn't see any business cards, but she did great work. And I just love seeing a young person being able to, get a craft and actually be taking it to market so young. So I thought that was great. Like I said, I didn't get to talk to the other lady. I was trying to get to her and I never got to speak with her, the one that done the acrylic plushies. I didn't get a chance to talk to her, so I'm not sure how she did or anything, or how the young lady did. But let's just say that I didn't do great, but I didn't do horrible. Considering that 30 people canceled as a vendor, it wasn't so bad. I at that point, I knew once she said that 30 people had canceled, I knew at that point it was not going to be, like a top market, to say the least. I at that point, I was just hoping to make my booth fee back. So, with that being said, I did make my booth fee back. So, I'm going to go ahead and go over my sales. So this market was from 9 to 3 p.m. And I think I mentioned it before, it was an $80 booth fee. So these were the sales. I had 3 items that I sold at least 2 items of. I have a small possum that's by Drinkard Crochet. I sold 2 of those. I sold 2 of my keychains, my keychains I had in a little bin sitting down. You've probably seen it in the video. I feel like they didn't draw as much attention as they normally do. So I think I'm going to go back to the actual keychain rack. I think that does better for me. I know that I think a few people have said that they do better in a bin for them. So I wanted to give it a try, and I know this was a smaller market. I'd say there was probably only about 500 people that came through. If that, I think I'm like stretching it by a little bit. I have no clue how many people came through, to be honest with you. It was probably more like 300, but somewhere between 300 and 500 people, if that. And I don't know how many of those were just other vendors, to be honest with you. So it was a very small sample, but my keychains hardly got any attention at all. And they were actually on the end display, and other things on the table did get attention. Maybe not purchased, but attention. And so I think I'm going to go back to my keychain rack. The Chick and Eggs, and that is by Cozy Hooked Creations. I did really well on those. I had several people pick them up. I had 2 people that actually bought some, and I had 8 of them. So I sold 2 of them out of the 8, and I didn't have but 4 of them displayed. So I thought that done pretty good. Now, the rest of the items I sold just one of, and I had multiples of almost all of them. A few of them I only had one of. I sold one of my mini chicks and one of my mini ducks. Both of those are by hand_made. I do believe that's a free pattern on Instagram. I sold a small bee, and that one is by Bobble Stitch Queen. I sold one Mushy Crushy, and that is a free pattern, and that pattern is on Instagram, and that's by Crochet_crochet or Crochet. It depends on how you want to pronounce it. One small turtle, and the small turtles that I make are more of a mixed pattern. It's got a few from here and picks from here and there that people used, but the closest one to that pattern is the Tofu by Meg's Makes Patterns. And I add some rounds and make it a little bit bigger, but for the most part, that's pretty close to what I use. I finally sold a loaf cat. Everybody's talking about their loaf cat selling and everything, and I had yet to sell any of them. I finally sold one. I had 2 of the larger size ones, and I did sell one of those. And that pattern is by Anne Caraway Art. So, I'll save that one for the last. So, I was looking at my list. I was like, that one's got a story with it. I'll wait on that one. So, I sold 3 items for Madeline Mako. I sold her Cashew the Cow, and it had embroidered eyes on it. And I sold the duck, which also had embroidered eyes on it. And I sold a giraffe, and those are all by Madeline Mako. I sold one of my hot dogs, and that one is by Crochet Custom CA. They always get a lot of attention, get picked up a lot. I had 2 of them on the table, and one of them actually went home with someone. So I sold one chicken, and that chicken was by Stacy Bakes. It's her Setting Birds pattern. They're super fun makes if you haven't tried those. And then I sold one of the Shelf Setters by Going Crochet. She's come out with a line, and that was the first one that I've sold from the line. I've only taken them to market twice, but they set really good on the shelf. It makes it a whole lot easier to display them. So one of my miscellaneous $5 makes, I'm not sure which one because I haven't went through all of my inventory to find out. That was the only one I sold, so I didn't want to dig through all the bags trying to find which one that was. So if I do figure it out, I might mention it in a video later on. I was like, one $5 make, 3 full bags. I'm just going to mention that I sold a $5 item. Not sure which one it is, but it's one of probably my one-offs that I done just trying out the pattern. So I'm not sure which one that was. I sold one unicorn, and that unicorn was by Madeline Mako as well. And I finally sold my large octopus. This octopus had been going with me to every show since my very beginning. Since the very beginning, my very first show. So I finally sold it, and it was from Jade pattern. So I ended up selling 22 items. Is that a whole lot of items? No. Did I make a whole lot? No. I actually ended up making $325. And then once you take out my booth fee, I made $245. Now, considering the flooding and all of that, and I'm surprised I made that much. With all the factors, all the flooding, even that morning, even going and driving to the actual market, it was so foggy that you could probably not even see 20 foot in front of you while you're driving. So I'm not surprised that the market wasn't a big money maker. I did sell one other item that's listed that I didn't mention because I got a story that goes with it. So I sewed my mama possum pattern, and that's the possum that that's the mama possum where the baby actually fits in the pouch. And if I have a picture, I'll insert it. That pattern is by Murphy's Crochet. I have one at every single market. That is one of those patterns that is always sitting on a top shelf for me, and it kind of goes with my logo. My logo is a possum, so it's kind of like my mascot, I guess you could say. And there was this lady with her 2 children, and they had walked around the whole place. We had talked to them. They had picked out a few, put them back down. She said, "We're learning how to spend our money." I was like, that's an awesome skill to teach. So they go all the way around the market and they come back to my booth. So this is about 10 minutes before it's time to pack up and leave. And she's like, "I'm sorry." She's trying to pick out what she wants. So we sat there, I say probably another 15, 20 minutes waiting for this little girl to pick out what she wanted. Her sister picked out something, paid for it, and this little girl keeps going around. She can't make up her mind for anything. So she's going from this and going from that, and she's getting upset, and then she's fine, and then she's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And she's like, "I know you," and the mom's like, "I know you all got to pack up. We're trying to learn how to spend our money," and everything like that. And we're like, "Well, it's fine. It's fine. Just let her pick out." So we just kind of stayed back and let her pick out. And finally, right in front of me, she wants the mama possum with the baby possum. Now, with that being my mascot, and it does take a lot of time and a lot of sewing, I have it priced at $65. It's one of those ones that I don't love to make. I love the product that comes out of it. I love the make itself, but I don't love to make it. So I do price it a little bit higher because it is something that I don't enjoy making over and over again. It's perfectly fine that it sits on the shelf several shows and I only have to make it like once or twice a year. Perfectly fine for it with that. And so I do price it a little bit higher. They bought it for $65. So the little girl didn't have enough money. So mom's like, "You have to work off that money by helping me do chores around the house." So the little girl agreed. So I don't know what happened but she got to take the little possum home. And then we finally got to pack up. And we were probably one of 3 vendors left to pack up that day. Everybody else had packed up and left. So, like I said, I made $325 and $245 after the $80 booth fee. Wasn't a huge day. Now, with that being said, I don't know if you're curious or not, but I'd like to go over a little bit about the 3D printing. So, did the 3D printing actually affect what my sales? And do I think that it did? To be perfectly honest with you, the way we had it set up, we had kind of like a 3D section and the rest of it was crochet. And you really noticed when people come to the booth, you kind of knew what they were coming for. Because if you sat back and watched, they would go over to the 3D printing and then come back to the crochet and then go back to the 3D printing. Or they would come to the crochet, go look at the 3D printing and come back to the crochet. So I honestly felt like, and this was a smaller samples, but by what it seemed like, people already knew kind of where they were going and what they wanted whenever they walked up. They did pay attention to the other things, but they kind of had their mind already made up before they even walked into the booth what they were most interested in. And we did have several people that bought multiple things. They bought some from the crochet and some from the 3D printing. So my husband actually made $87. And with it being such a small market and all he had was a shelf and a 6-foot table, I think he done pretty good for his first time, setting up in a little bitty section and not knowing really what the market had available and all that. So I do think he done really good. He sold 6 $1 items. He sold 8 $3 items. And 3 of those were like a 2 for $5 deal. And then he sold 2 of his $15 items. So he done pretty good. And I honestly feel like the 3D didn't really affect my crochet sales. I think that the people that weren't going to buy the crochet and was going to buy 3D, they would have either bought it from my husband or bought it from the 3D printer that was set up there that had another booth. So I honestly don't think it hurt my business at all as far as that goes. I think that they do kind of complement each other. And moving forward, I'll give you some more updates. We got a couple more markets where he's actually setting up next to me instead of in the same booth. And then there's a few markets that aren't juried that he's going to have a little space on my table or however we work it out. It depends on the setup. But he is going to be right next to me, or at least have some product at all of my markets that are not juried. So I will be giving you some updates on those. So all in all, I can't really judge this venue, so to speak, because I don't think it's a fair judgment with all the weather issues and stuff that we had and, the flooding and all that. I can't really say if this was a good market or not as far as that area. It was the first one ever done in that particular county. And so I can't say if that was a good or bad market. I don't think it's fair to judge it. I did make my booth fee back, so I'm happy about that. I did make some money. So, I can't complain. It wasn't a total, bust. I'm happy with the $325 I made. And then my husband, he sold 22 items and made $86. So, altogether we made $422. And for a market from 9 to 3, is that a blowout? No, it's not. Am I happy with it? I am. So, not sure if I'll be doing it again at this particular place or not. I guess the schedule next year will tell. But thank you so much for sticking with me for this market recap. If you have any questions or anything about the patterns, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to link them. I do have a Google Doc below, and I have not figured out how to make it completely shareable. But you can open it up and you can copy the links and post them in your browser. If you do know how to make it publicly shared and be able to share all the links, please let me know, because I cannot figure it out. I've tried several different things and it hasn't worked. I would love to be able to just put all the patterns that I use on there and then be able to direct you all towards them. But if you know how to do that, let me know. Well, if you've stuck with me, thank you so much. If you would like and subscribe, I have at least 8 more markets this year that I would love to recap with you. So if you stayed with me, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed week, and God bless.